What's going on, everyone? Yeah, today we're gonna continue on working on our flip-flop, our 1976 Bally flip-flop. And we got started in the last video in getting everything all cleaned up on our bottom Mech board, and we're gonna continue on it today. Now in the last episode we got all of our relays cleaned here, and all of them along the side there. On that side we got those all cleaned, these all cleaned, and we got our score motor all done. So now what we have left is to do all of our Jones plugs there, and the male ends sitting down there on the floor, and our stepper units. We're going to start with our stepper units today and get those all cleaned up and fixed up. Now when I was going to get started on here, I noticed, well, what happened is I was going to take this screw out right here on the stepper unit so we can take our wheel off and clean all of our contacts on the stepper unit, on this one anyway, and then we'll get to that one later. But this one, I went to take this screw out, and lo and behold, that thing is loose. There's nothing whole. Well, there is, but as you can see, our contact wheel is loose already. So we got to be careful taking that apart, because I already did it. I pushed it in and it went zip and unwound itself, so I had to wind it back up and get it where it belongs again. Which, if it happens, it's not the end of the world. All you have to do is just, if you push this wheel over or pull this one out, you can get it out past the catches over here on this side and just wind it back up. And just so happens when it took off on me, it went around 3 times. So all I had to do is I pulled the wheel out and turned it 3 times and pushed it back in where it belongs, and that locked it back into place, and now it's where it belongs. But you can see our contacts are not laying down like they should. So we're going to take this apart and clean it. There's not a whole lot of cleaning that you have to do to these stepper units. It's mainly the face on the contacts and re-sleeving your coils. When I go to do that, I'll get you on the other side, or I'll spin this around and we'll take a look at the other side. But first we're going to concentrate on just cleaning our star wheel here and all of our contacts on our face here. So I'll take this off. Mainly all you have to do is take the Phillips screw out of the center, and this whole star wheel will pull off, and then you can clean things up. So I'll get that taken off, and then I'll show you what it looks like and how I'm going to clean it up. Now when you take these off, just kind of make a mental note. See, these will go on 2 different ways. You can put them on, wait a minute, yep, you can put these on 2 different ways. You can put this on that way with the 2 at the top, or you can flip it around and see it would go on that way too. And if you look, you would see where it wouldn't be making contact with everything on the board again. So just kind of make a mental note, or if you have to, you can mark your spline here, or peg, whatever you want to call it, so you know that's where it was pointing up. If you mark that, and then if you're messing around and the sucker takes off on you, you'll know that, okay, my mark goes back up top. And you can mark, just take your Sharpie and put a little mark here and a little mark here, and that will remind you that's how that star wheel goes back on. That just in case something happens and you have to be away from the machine for a day or so, and you got everything all laying all over the place, at least then you'll know how it does go back together. Now to clean these, oh God, about fell on my head. What I use to clean them up is, you know, you can use, I have 1000 grit sandpaper here, wet dry, that I use to clean up my contacts here. You can see it looks like somebody started and tried cleaning this one up. That may have been why that was loose, and there may have been a problem with this stepper unit. We won't know until we get everything all cleaned up and put back together and plugged in. And what I do is I just take my 1000 grit and I just polish up those contacts. You can use a Scotch-Rite pad, use very, very fine sandpaper. Like I said, I use 1000 grit to clean up my contacts. I've never had a problem with it. And we'll get those all cleaned up, and then I'll show you. And same with here. You can see these are pretty shiny. I mean, they're not dirty, but I'll go ahead and I'll polish them up with my 1000 grit. And just get some of the crud off of them in case there's some crud. And then I'll show you about putting it back together. Okay, all I do is I just take my sandpaper and clean all them up. You don't want to take off a whole bunch of material, you just want to polish them up. You don't have to worry about these on the bottom, because on your star you can see that they don't have any contacts on them. And same thing, I'll just take and just clean the grime off of them of 40 years or more. And then, hey, yeah, just throw it. And then what we will do is we take a little bit of this contact disc grease. Let me get you in there. There we go. I get this from PBR, which is Pinball Resource. This is dielectric grease, meaning it will not conduct electricity. All we want to do is we just want to coat these contacts so they don't, so the contact wheel, star wheel, whatever you want to call it, will slide on it a lot easier than being dry. Don't like dry. Always gotta be lubed up. And now, if I can find a rag, wipe my finger off. Now you remember how that goes back on. Put a little counter pressure on the back side so that that wheel doesn't go zipping off on you like it did me. And I'm wondering if there was a problem with, this is the coin unit stepper, so I don't know if they were having a problem. Somebody took it apart or started taking it apart, or if it just loosened up over time. Now see, to me that looks like that's off one. It is. RC, when we return, it should return all the way to this contact here. Because if you have a wire on it, then obviously it should move to that one. And this one is wide enough where it could move one more click and hit those contacts with that wire on it and straighten that out. Okay, so when we get it over to the other side, we'll take a look and see why it's not returning all the way back to this contact here. But while I'm here, I want to go ahead and clean the ball counting unit, which is over here, and I'm sure you can't see it, but it's over there. And I'll move you over there, and well, no, we're just going to do the same thing. Let me get you down off the stand here. We're going to do the same thing with this one. Is we'll take the star wheel off and we'll clean all of our contacts and our star wheel contacts and put a little dielectric grease on it. And we can put that back together. Now on this one, since I can't get to the star wheel down here because of our score motor, you can do one of two things. You can undo the score motor, which there's a big screw right down here. Take that out. And the score, let me back you off a little bit. Take that screw out and this score unit will lift up out of the way, and then you can get at that. Which, let me see, I don't know if I can get at no, I can't get at that bottom coil to change the sleeve in it, so I'm just gonna go ahead and there's two screws holding down that stepper unit. There's one there, and then there's one over down in there. Take those two, and then we can move this up and work on it. And you can see we got that one all cleaned up, and a little bit of dielectric grease on there. This is the ball counting unit. Now you can, just kind of test it and see how it is. The machines will play 5 balls. If you have it set on 5 balls, this should turn 6 times. Should move to 6 different, because you start with game over, and it resets the game, goes to ball 1, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's all the further it should go, and then it should return when it goes to the 5th ball and then goes to the game over. It'll run it all the way back. Now I use this dielectric grease because, see, it's for electrical and mechanical grease. This is for electrical contacts. I've heard of people using CV grease, CV joint grease, which CV joint grease has graphite in it, and graphite is a conductor of electricity. Now, I don't care how careful you are, you may at some time be chasing a sporadic problem that you cannot figure out, and it could be because you have a glob of grease build up in between 2 contacts, and now it's that graphite is letting it short across. So I stay away from anything except dielectric grease when I'm working on stepper units, especially on these contact pads and your scores. Your score reels are going to be the same thing. When we get into those, you'll see that's all I use is dielectric grease. I get that from Pinball Resource. I buy a lot of stuff from Pinball Resource, and I buy a lot of stuff from Marco Specialties. So let me get this turned around, and then we can start working on the other side of these stepper units. After looking at this and studying it a little bit more, I kind of figured out that our wheel doesn't go to this very last contact, which is F. That is our line. which the bottom one catches it all the time. That'll be our power that transfers around. This is how these two make contact. The bottom, the F, which could mean field. Yeah, field. Will be our field. So the bottom one, that contact comes down and stretches all the way across here. So as long as this bottom one is touching it, it touches the field, and then it transfers the power from here up to here, to the 1, 2, 3. That's our coin unit, so that's how that one works. So if you see it and you think that it should be all the way over, no, then it would actually be a direct contact with power right across, in which you don't need. What you need is for it to transfer the power from that one to this one, and then from that one to that one, and from that one to that one. So it's always on the field. Same with this big one. That big one's the field. It's at the rest position. And these bottom two are the ones that make contact with the field and transfers your power. Same with that one. So that one is good. From what I can see, I'm not going to say positive that there's no problem with it, because you never know. Now what we're going to do is we'll work on the back side of these stepper units. We'll clean our leaf switches, make sure they're doing what they're supposed to. You got a couple down there and a couple here, and we're going to change our sleeves in our coils. And whatever you do, don't be cheap. Always put new sleeves in your coils. I mean, those, you know, from 76, what are we, 76, 44, 45 years. Those could be the original sleeves in them. And the stepper units are always working, just like any of your coils. They're always working, so you know, you don't know. So just for a couple of pennies or 10 cents or 50 cents a piece even, put new sleeves in your coils. You'll save a lot of headaches later on down the road. Plus, they run smoother and less wear on the machine and on these mechanisms, on these stepper units. It just is able to work a lot better. But just by looking at them, you know, like I said, we just need to clean these up a little bit. I'm not going to get all carried away and, you know, and take them all apart and scrub all the mechanism, you know, and everything. No. They're working. They may be hanging up just a little bit now and then, so that's why we're cleaning them and getting everything cleaned up on them, because we don't want to tear them down. Now, I've heard of people stripping down these boards and putting all this stuff in a dishwasher and washing it and then hanging it out and drying it, and then recovering your coils, putting new paper on the coils and all that. And I'm not into that. We're not restoring this. We're just putting this back into service so it's reliable and can be enjoyed by other people. Once you get your coils off, you can start inspecting stuff. You know, you can inspect the plunger, which has a plastic ring on it. Make sure that's in good condition. Now this still has the original aluminum sleeves in it, so you know these have never been changed. And we're going to put in the new nylon and inspect your coil stops. You can see this one's still in really good condition. It's not mushroomed. Still has the center and the copper. It's not beat down to the brass or copper, whatever is down in there. So everything on that coil is still good, except we're going to put a new sleeve in it. I'll do that to all of them. And this switch down here looks I don't know, looks goofy, but we'll see it. If I have a problem with it, I'll show you what's going on. Now that our steppers are all cleaned and our coils are re-sleeved, you can see that we're working like we should. And now we can move on to the last portion of cleaning this bottom mech board, and that's our Jones plugs, our sockets, the female side, and our male, which are these. We have to clean all those up, and we have one there that's black, and you can see we have a wire. Oop, let me get that out of the way. We've got a wire off here. So we'll take a look at that and see what's going on there. But for cleaning these sockets, I use this little brush. It's for a spherical or lead flinging device. 177, and these fit right down in here really nice, and you can get your sockets cleaned up. Then on the male end, I'll use my little bit of 1000 grit sandpaper, and I will polish them all up and make them all pretty. And we'll get the ones on the back here, and then we'll come up front. Got to get rid of the coils, and we will do all of our Jones plugs up here and get them all done. Then we'll be just about done with the mech board. All we have left to do is to change out this one fuse socket. We'll get a new fuse socket put in there, and we'll be good to go. So I'll get to busy, and I'll get this all cleaned up, and we'll be just about done with our bottom mech board. Now we've got all of our Jones plugs cleaned. All of our female sockets here are all cleaned. Got all of our males done. Let's see, okay, it's the center one. You can see we had that loose wire, and that was just kind of pushed down in there, and when I pulled the Jones plug out, this wire came out with it. Was just sitting in there. Looks like it was never soldered. And you can see it's gotten hot. It's cooked the coating right off of it. This was all black, and the pin's a little loose, but it will be okay. Now that brown, I followed it back up into here to where I could find some good wire. And if we come over to our schematics, which is our mounting to insert plugs, which are back boxes, our insert down here in the corner is number 80. And that brown wire runs up top here, runs all the way across, all the way to the end. And see, we're still here, brown, which comes into the 10 amp fuse. But that's, see, I never found where that 80 goes to. That brown wire, I'm almost positive that brown wire is our ground, running off and going to all of our switches and that. But that would be only for the back box, because this bottom one, which is number 30 yellow, it's on that same plug. It's right here. That should be our power, running everything on our back box. So that one was kind of arcing in there and getting hot, and it cooked the wire took the coating right off of the wire. And if I'm reading that correct, if not, somebody will let me know. And we changed out our fuse holder. Checked all the values of the fuses. They had a 15 amp here in our 10 amp, and they had a 15 amp in our line voltage, which is supposed to be an 8. So I got them correct. These two R15s, that should be our lights in the 6 volt. And while you're here, clean your fuse sockets the best you can. I have spent, on that one machine, about an hour trying to figure out why my back box lights wouldn't come on. And I chased wires and all that, and ended up, I went down to check my fuse. Well, I checked the fuse was good. But then I tested. I had juice on one side and nothing on the other. I twisted my fuse, and lo and behold, the back box lights come on. So make sure you clean your sockets for your fuses as well. If they're a little loose, you can squeeze them together and then put your fuse back down in. Another thing I want to kind of touch on here too is if you're looking at your bottom mech and you see wires like this cut, there's those two, and there's another one floating around here too, that when they put these wiring harnesses together, they use these wiring harnesses in other games, and in another game those two might be used, and two other ones might be hanging off over here. So don't be concerned if you have wires like this. It's the same thing. Like here you have two switches on your score motor that there's nothing on them. Those are just extra for this machine, but on another machine they use those top two. It was kind of a way of kind of standardizing stuff throughout these games, so they could move them through and get them built quicker. Is you just put a wire up, one wiring harness, and then it will fit multiple games. And like I said, this game didn't use these two, but in another game those two will be used on something here. Might be probably maybe one of the Jones plugs, and then maybe they come up to here. There might be some loose wires in here that went to here to a different machine. So don't be concerned if you see wires like that cut. They're not cut, they were just never used. Okay, so that completes our bottom Mech board. Everything is cleaned, and we only had to adjust I think maybe 1 or 2 switches on this whole bottom, which is really good. Surprising. But this machine has been sitting for quite a long time, and with a back door on it and playing field and glass and all that, so everything didn't get real dirty, because it's all closed up. So it's kind of a good thing. There's another wire. See, there's another wire right down in there that's not hooked up to anything. And here's what's left of our old fuse socket. You can see that it's gotten hot, arcing off a lot. Or they had a short somewhere, and it could have been, this could be one of the fuses that runs that Jones plug up there that got hot. That may be getting hot and causing a problem and blowing fuses and heating this up. Who knows? All I know is we'll fix it, and then when we put it together, we hope everything works. If not, then we'll start chasing stuff down. But to change that, I just cut it off, cut that end of it off, and put a new socket down for it. So like I said, that completes the bottom mech board. That's all ready to go back in the machine when we're ready for it. And this video has been long enough, I suspect. So I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Until next time, when we start on, we're going to work on the back box mech. We'll pull that out and get it laying up here and get to work on it and getting everything cleaned on it. I don't know if we'll be able to get through all of that in one episode. It may take us 2 episodes to do that one as well. When I'm going over a lot of this stuff, it does take its time and eats up video time. So until next time, see ya.